My name is Bharti C. In this video, we will discuss the basic concept of the OOPS. Let's get started. Basic concept of the OOPS contains objects, classes, data abstraction, data encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, and message passing. Now we will discuss one by one as detailed. Objects. Objects is a nothing but object is an instance of a class. Object is a real world entity. When we are creating the object, it occupies the memory in a space. So what is object? Object contain data plus methods or attributes plus operations. Objects are the basic runtime entities of an object-oriented system. They may represent a person or a place or any items that the program must handle. For example, I am showing the representation of the object in a figure. First one is the object and it contains the data plus function, and the example is second figure showing a car. Car contain the data is a model and year of the manufacturing and color. And what are the function of car? Function of the car is start moving the car and stop the car. Object consists of identity, state and behavior. In a figure I am showing object is one of the dog. So example is a dog. Object is a dog. So what is the object? Identity of the object name of the dog. For example, name of the dog is Hero or Moti, Raju, etc. And next is it contain the state or it's a property or attributes. Dog property is a breed, age and color. And behavior of the dog is function of the dog is eat, run, bark, etc. Object. When a program is executed, the objects interact by sending the message to one another. For example, if customer and account are the two objects in a program, then the customer object may send a message to the account object requesting for the bank balance. Each object contains data and a code to manipulate the data. Next one is a class. Class is a collection of object is class. It is a logical entity. A class can also be defined as a blueprint from which you can create an individual object. Class does not consume any space. Classes are user-defined data types and it behave like built-in types of programming language. Object consists code and data which can be made user-defined type using the class. Objects are variables of a classes. Once a class has been defined, we can create any number of the object for the class. A class is a collection of objects of similar type. We can create object of class using the following syntax. Syntax is class name and object name semicolon. Here class name is a class which is already created. Object name is any user defined name. For example, if student is a class, example student name is a class and Ram and Sham are the two objects of the student class. We can create any number of the objects for the class. Third one is a encapsulation. Encapsulation is the first pillar or principle of the object-oriented programming. In simple words, encapsulation is a process of binding data members and functions in a single unit, and class is the best example of the encapsulation. For example, in medical store, let us say you have to buy some medicines. You go to the medical store and ask the chemist for the medicines. Only the chemist has access to the medicines in the store based on your prescription. The chemist knows that medicine to give you. This reduces the risk of you taking any medicine that is not intended for you. In this example, medicines are the member of the variables, means data, and chemist is the method or function. You, external application or piece of the code. Here I am showing one of the figure of the example of the encapsulation. Inner circle is contain the data and methods, that is a private type, and outer circle is a data and function, that is public, and the last outer area of the circle is a class, that is the code. Through the encapsulation, data is not accessible to the outside the world, and only those functions which are wrapped in the class can access it. Encapsulation solves the problem at the implementation level. A class can specify how accessible each of its members is to code outside of the class. Encapsulation. So encapsulation means hiding the important features of a class which is not being needed to be exposed outside of a class, and exposing only necessary things of the class. Here, hidden part of the class act like a encapsulation, and exposed part of a class act like a abstraction. Fourth one is a abstraction. Abstraction refers representation of necessary features without including more details or explanations. Data abstraction is a programming technique that relies on the separation of interface and implementation. When you press a key on a keyboard, the character appears on the screen. You need to know this, only this, but how exactly it works based on the electronically is not needed. This is called abstraction. Another one example is that when you are use the remote control of your TV, you do not bother about how pressing a key in the remote changes the channel on the TV. You just know that pressing the plus volume button will increase the volume. Inheritance. Inheritance is a mechanism of acquiring the features and behavior of a class by another class. The class whose members are inherited is called the base class, and the class that inherit those members is called derived class. In mechanism of deriving a new class from a old class is called inheritance or derivation. The old class is known as a base class, while new class is known as a derived class or a subclass. The inheritance is the most powerful features of the OOPS. For example, consider an example of family of 3 members having a mother, father and a son named Jack. Jack father tall and dark. Jack mother short and fair. Jack is tall and fair, so he is said to have inherited the feature of his father and mother respectively. Inheritance. Through effective use of inheritance, you can save lot of time in your programming and also reduce the errors, which in turn will increase the quality of work and productivity. Inheritance. The different types of inheritance are single inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and multiple inheritance. Polymorphism. Polymorphism is a Greek term which means ability to take more than one form. For example, plus is used to make sum of the two numbers, as well as it is used to combine two strings. In this example, I am showing one side, left side is adding the two numbers, and right side adding the two strings. This is known as operator overloading because some operators are behave differently on different instances. So, same way function can be loaded. For example, some function may takes 2 arguments or 3 arguments, etc. Single function print draw different objects. Dynamic binding. Binding means link between procedure call and code to be executed. It is the process of linking of a function call to the actual code of the function at the runtime. That is, in dynamic binding, the actual code to be executed is not known to the compiler until the runtime. It is also known as late binding. For example, compiler comes to know at runtime that which function of sum will be called either with the 2 arguments or with the 3 arguments. Message passing. Objects can communicate with each other by passing message, same as people passing message with each other. Object can read and receive the message or information. Message passing involving the following basic steps: creating the classes that define objects and their behavior, creating the object from class definition, establishing communication among the objects. Concept of the message passing makes it easier to talk about building systems that directly model or simulated their real world counterparts. For example, consider two classes, product and order. The object of the product class can be communicate with the object of the order class by sending the request or placing order. This is the one of the example of the message passing. Thank you for watching the video.